Try to remember exactly what you had for dinner last Tuesday. Don't think about the meal. Try to recall the texture of the food, the temperature of the room, or the specific words of the conversation you were having. If there is a blank space where that memory should be, don't blame your age. Now, listen closely to the sound inside your head. That high-pitched whistle, that relentless buzzing, or that low-frequency hum isn't just an annoyance in your ears. It is a cognitive parasite. Right now, as you sit here, that sound is actively stealing your brain's processing power, and the connection between that ringing and your fading memory is far more dangerous than any doctor has ever told you. Scientists have finally identified that tinnitus doesn't stay confined to the auditory cortex. It migrates. It invades the precuneus and the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the exact regions of your brain responsible for attention and short-term memory. While you are trying to focus on a task, your brain is engaged in a brutal, 24-hour-a-day wrestling match with a signal that doesn't exist. This constant struggle creates what we call a synaptic brownout. It is the biological equivalent of trying to run a high-end computer while a background virus is consuming 90% of the CPU. Eventually, the system lags. Programs crash. And in your brain, those programs are your most precious memories. Let's perform a quick diagnostic right now. I'm going to give you 4 random words. Do not write them down. Do not repeat them out loud. Just hold them in the center of your mind. Blue, anchor, 7, willow. We will come back to these in a few minutes. If you find yourself struggling to keep those words active while I am talking, it is because your working memory is being crowded out by the tinnitus signal. This is the tinnitus tax. You aren't losing your intelligence. You are simply running out of mental workspace because it is full of static. Most people operate on a healthy data plan of cognitive energy, but if you have chronic ear ringing, you are spending nearly all of your daily allowance just trying to ignore the noise. By the time you need to remember a name or where you put your keys, you have already hit your limit. You are operating on a cognitive deficit every single second of the day. The mechanics of this pain in your synapses are terrifyingly simple. In a healthy brain, synapses act as clean, efficient bridges for electrical sparks to travel across. But chronic tinnitus acts like a layer of thick grease on those bridges. It creates a constant state of neural noise that makes it nearly impossible for a clear memory signal to get through. Over time, your brain, being an efficiency machine, begins to prune back these underused connections. It is a use it or lose it scenario on a cellular level. This is the direct link to the early onset of cognitive decline that researchers are now seeing in tinnitus patients. The auditory nerve is frayed, sending junk data to the brain, and in a desperate attempt to find a signal, the brain turns its internal gain up to the maximum. This doesn't help you hear better. It only makes the ringing louder and the mental fog thicker. Every year, millions of adults over 50 start noticing that their recall isn't what it used to be. They forget appointments, they lose their train of thought mid-sentence, and they start to feel a sense of detachment from the world around them. They think it's just aging. But silently, their synapses are being corroded by a phantom frequency. At the age of 50, your brain's natural supply of a neurotransmitter called GABA begins to drop. GABA is your brain's natural brake pedal. It is the chemical that tells your neurons to stop firing so they can rest. Without enough GABA, your auditory system stays stuck in the on position, firing at random, creating that phantom sound. This hyperactivity is toxic. It creates oxidative stress that literally fries the delicate synapses between your brain cells. You aren't just tired. Your neurons are overworked to the point of structural damage. Your doctor might tell you to just live with it, but that is like telling someone to ignore a fire in their basement. Eventually, the structure of the house will fail. The true reason your memory is failing has almost nothing to do with plaque or genetics. It has everything to do with the fact that your brain is drowning in electrical noise. I have spent months reviewing clinical data and speaking with neurobiologists to rank the 7 most common remedies for this condition, from the least effective to the absolute gold standard for rebuilding your brain. We are going to go through them now, from 7 to 1. Remedy number 7. White noise machines and masking apps. Most people think these are a solution, but they are actually a trap. When you use white noise to drown out the ringing, you are adding more noise to an already overloaded system. White noise only masks the sound. It doesn't stop the brain from searching for the original tinnitus signal. In fact, studies suggest that constant white noise can actually prevent the brain from habituating, keeping your stress levels high and your memory centers blocked. It is a temporary band-aid on a deep neurological wound. You are essentially trying to quiet a screaming child by screaming louder yourself. It doesn't solve the distress. It only hides it for a moment while the underlying nerve damage continues to fester. Score: 2 out of 10. Necessary for sleep sometimes, but insufficient for repair. Remedy number 6. Standard eardrops and wax removal. If your tinnitus is coming from inside your brain, which 95% of chronic cases are, nothing you put in your outer ear canal will reach the source. These drops might help with wax, but they do absolutely nothing for the leaking synapses that are causing your memory loss. People spend hundreds of dollars on specialized oils, thinking they can lubricate a nerve that is buried deep inside the skull. It is physically impossible. You are treating the window when the foundation is crumbling. Score: 3 out of 10. Remedy number 5. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. While it can help you cope with the distress, it doesn't fix the biological grease on your synapses. It is a psychological tool for a biological problem. It teaches you how to be less miserable while your brain is still under siege. It's better than nothing, but it's not the reconstruction your brain needs. It doesn't restore the GABA levels or repair the frayed myelin sheath. Score: 5 out of 10. Now we move into the heavy hitters that actually touch the biology. Remedy number 4. High-dose magnesium glycinate combined with zinc. Magnesium is the gatekeeper of the NMDA receptor in your brain. When you are deficient, your synapses become leaky, allowing too much calcium to flood the neurons. This causes them to fire uncontrollably, creating that ringing sound and making it impossible to form new memories. Zinc is essential for the repair of the auditory nerve itself. Together, they act as a basic repair kit. Most Americans are chronically deficient in both, which is why the tinnitus epidemic is so widespread in the US. This combination starts to lower the gain in the brain within 14 days. Score: 7.5 out of 10. Potent and necessary, but it lacks the fuel for total regeneration. Remedy number 3. The brain drumming mechanical ritual. This is a physical technique where you snap your fingers against the base of your skull to create a resonance that temporarily resets the auditory nerve. This isn't magic, it's physics. By creating a specific vibration at the suboccipital notch, you send a mechanical signal that overrides the phantom electrical signal. It provides immediate relief for many. It proves that the system is mechanical and can be manipulated, but it doesn't fix the underlying synaptic pain. It is like rebooting a computer that has a hardware failure. It helps for a moment, but the crash will happen again unless you fix the hardware. Score: 8 out of 10 for immediate relief. Remedy number 2. The vitamin K2 and D3 protocol. This is about the structure holding everything up. Most people don't realize that the tiny bones in your middle ear and the bone density around your auditory canal are regulated by these vitamins. Without them, the physical structure of your hearing system begins to micro-collapse, leading to increased sensitivity and internal noise. But more importantly, K2 directs calcium away from your brain's soft tissues and into the bones. When calcium builds up in the brain's blood vessels, it restricts the microcirculation to the hippocampus, the library where your memories are filed. Reclaiming this circulation is like turning the lights back on in a dark room. Score: 9 out of 10. Finally, the number 1 remedy for 2026. A specific combination of collagen peptides and ubiquinol, also known as CoQ10. This is the secret to rebuilding the actual glue of your brain. Your synapses and the protective coating of your nerves, the myelin, require these specific building blocks to repair the grease and stop the electrical leaks. As we age, our production of collagen and CoQ10 drops by nearly 50%. This is why tinnitus and memory loss always seem to show up together after 50. Clinical tests have shown that this combination can reduce the perceived volume of tinnitus by up to 48%, while simultaneously increasing memory recall scores by 33%. It is the difference between trying to clean the grease off the bridge and simply building a brand new, high-speed bridge. To understand why this works, we have to look at the circadian rhythm of your brain. Have you noticed that your tinnitus gets louder at night? It's not just because the house is quieter. It's because your brain's glymphatic system, the waste management team of the skull, is trying to flush out the day's toxins. But the high-frequency tinnitus signal acts like a jammer. It prevents your brain from entering the deep delta wave sleep required for synaptic repair. You wake up with a memory debt. The collagen and ubiquinol protocol specifically addresses this by strengthening the myelin sheath, the insulation on your neural wires. When the insulation is thick, the static stops. When the static stops, your brain can finally enter deep sleep, and the glymphatic system can finally clear the fog out of your hippocampus. When you take collagen peptides, specifically those rich in glycine and proline, you are giving your brain the raw materials to rebuild the myelin sheath. Think of myelin as the insulation on a wire. When the insulation is gone, the wire sparks and creates static. That's your tinnitus. When you add ubiquinol, you are providing the cellular battery with the power it needs to actually perform the repair. Without the power, the materials just sit there. Together, they force the fibroblasts in your neural tissue to go into overdrive. Within 30 days, the electrical leaks begin to seal. The static starts to fade. And suddenly, that mental fog that has been haunting you for years begins to lift. Remember those 4 words from the start? Blue, anchor, 7, willow. If you struggle to recall them, or if your mind felt heavy trying to find them, that is the tinnitus tax in action. Your brain is crying out for help. It is tired of the wrestling match. You are not losing your mind. You are just a victim of a very noisy intruder that has overstayed its welcome. The goal is to save your library of memories before they are lost in the static forever. The medical industry wants you to believe that once your hearing is gone, it's gone. They want you to buy a $5,000 device that just makes the world louder. They don't want you to know that your brain has an incredible capacity for neuroplasticity. It can heal, it can rewire, but it cannot do it if it is starving for the right nutrients. You have to stop looking at the ear and start looking at the synapses. You have to treat the brain as the primary victim of this condition. Consider the case of thousands of people who followed this protocol. They weren't just coping, they were regenerating. They weren't using tricks to ignore the sound. They were removing the biological reason for the sound to exist. This requires a fundamental shift in how you view recovery. In the US market, 70% of the supplements you find on the shelf are junk fillers that actually increase neural inflammation. You cannot rebuild a high-speed synaptic bridge using low-grade materials. This is why so many people fail. They try one ingredient at a time, in the wrong dosages, while their brain continues to starve. The window for repair is not open forever. Chronic inflammation leads to permanent synaptic pruning. You must act while the connections are still capable of being restored. Because of this, I spent months searching for a delivery system that combines the exact ratios of ubiquinol, high-grade collagen, and the essential mineral cofactors we discussed. I wanted something that wasn't just a list of ingredients, but a biological reset button for the auditory nerve. After reviewing the clinical data, I found a specific research-backed formulation that is currently being used by thousands to silence the noise and clear the mental fog. It's not a miracle cure. It's simply the correct raw material that your brain has been begging for since your GABA levels started to drop. If you are tired of the tinnitus tax and you want to see the exact protocol and the clinical results behind this breakthrough, I have placed a link in the pinned comment below this video. It will take you to a detailed presentation that explains exactly how these ingredients seal the synaptic leaks and why the traditional medical industry has been keeping this science quiet. This is the same protocol that is helping people over 50 reclaim their focus and protect their memories from the static. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and hearing nothing but silence. No whistle, no hum, no static. Just the quiet of the room. And imagine that as you go about your day, your mind feels sharp. You remember every name, every task, every detail without effort. That isn't a dream. It's what happens when you stop the synaptic brownout and give your brain its processing power back. Take 10 grams of the peptides and the ubiquinol protocol every morning on an empty stomach. This ensures maximum absorption into the bloodstream and direct delivery to the neural tissues. Add the magnesium and zinc protocol in the evening to keep the gatekeeper active while you sleep. Within 1 week, you will notice the first sign of success. You will sleep deeper than you have in years. That is your brain finally finding the brake pedal. Within 30 days, the memory gaps will start to close. You will feel like the lights are being turned back on, one by one. Don't let another day go by where you are taxed for the crime of just trying to hear. Don't let your memory slip away into the white noise. You have the map now. You know the ranking. You know the science. Now, I want you to do something right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, how many of the 4 words did you remember? If it was only 2 or 3, don't be ashamed. It's a sign that your brain is working too hard. Click the link in the pinned comment, watch the presentation, and let today be the day you decide to give your brain the relief it's been begging for. The only thing left to do is to start the reconstruction. Your brain is waiting for the materials. Give it what it needs, and it will give you your life back.